The following Divrei Torah are in memory of my mother and my uncle. Li'ilui nishmat Rachel bat Yosef Chaim v'gam Aharon ben Yosef Chaim. Ruach Adonai hanichena began Eden. Hem b'chol metei Yisrael hashokvim imam b'chlal rachamim v'selichot v'chen yehi ratzon v'nomar amen. The pasuk in Parshat Acharei Moth states, Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe Acharei Moth shnei bnei Aharon Bekor vatham lifnei Adonai vayamuthu. Hashem spoke to Moshe after the death of Aharon's two sons, when they approached before Hashem and they died. Why does the Torah seem to be redundant by stating that after the death of Aharon's sons, and then stating again when Aharon's sons approached Hashem, they died? So the Zohar explains the reason for this double language of death is, first, they were punished by death for their sin. But the second mention of their death represents the fact that they had no children to continue on their legacy for future generations. Rashi further questions this redundancy because we already know that the sons of Aaron died because it was recorded in Parshat Shmini. So Rashi explains this apparent redundancy by way of giving a parable, a mashal. A sick person goes to a doctor, and the doctor examines him and prescribes him the following course of action. He says, don't eat cold food, and don't sleep in a cold or damp area. The person goes to another doctor for a second opinion. And the second doctor states, don't eat cold food, and don't sleep in a cold or damp place. Otherwise, you will die just like your friend did. The first time they just stated that somebody died. This time, not only is Hashem telling Moshe to explain to Aaron the laws of how to enter the Kodesh HaKodashim, he's saying you have to be careful to follow these laws so you will not die just like your sons did. What was so terrible about the fact that Nadav and Avihu went into the Kodesh HaKodashim and brought an offering of a strange fire with pure intentions that they wanted to give it to Hashem, without Hashem commanding them to do so? What was so terrible that they had to lose their lives? After all, we know that later on in history, Titus HaRasha entered into the Kodesh HaKodashim and walked out unscathed. Aaron's sons, Nadav and Avihu, were on such a high spiritual level. They had the best role models and teachers that anyone could ever ask for. They had Moshe and Aharon. So why were they punished with death? Because they should have known better. They should have known that they had to be perfectly meticulous about how they serve Hashem. And if they had a question and they were unsure of themselves, they should have gone first to Moshe and Aharon and asked for guidance and further instruction. Chazal teach us from a Gemara in Sanhedrin that every time Nadav and Avihu would walk behind Moshe and Aharon, they would say to each other, when will these two old men die so then we can take over and lead the Bnei Israel? Were these two righteous, or were they wicked and power hungry? Now Chazal also teach that we have to believe that Hashem created the world just for us. Which means if we see something wrong with the world, it's our job to fix it. We have to address the problem and take action. What did Nadav and Avihu think when they walked behind Moshe Rabbeinu saying these things? They saw problems with the Bnei Israel. They wanted to fix it, but they didn't want to take action immediately. They didn't go to Moshe and Aaron and say that they saw a problem with the Bnei Israel and they had a plan of how to give them further instruction. They said it wasn't their problem they'd leave it alone and they'll wait for when they become leaders, they'll become in charge of the Bnei Israel, and then they'll correct what they see as a deficiency. We as Jews have a collective responsibility to follow the ways of the Torah in a very meticulous manner. Hashem rewards us and judges us based on our level of understanding the requirements of living a life according to the ways of the Torah. We as Jews have a responsibility to learn how to perform mitzvot properly and how to avoid making sins. If we are unsure, it is our job to seek out a rabbi or a Talmid Chacham and ask to be taught the proper way to conduct ourselves and perfect our service to Hashem. After we learn how to do this, it is then our job to go out there and inspire others and to teach them in a loving way what the Torah expects of them. Observing the Torah is a collective effort.